What should we as a society stop making people feel insecure about? Being quiet. You never say anything is such a weird way to both draw attention to someone and give them nothing to work with. Most folks don't understand the power of silence. I understand being quiet is not a meditation for everyone. But damn. Not having endless mental chatter is wonderful. Not having endless verbal chatter directed at you without room to respond is good. 2. Mental health struggles. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking time to figure out what process works for you, despite why people around you might want to tell you. Had to scroll down a lot to find this, and I wish it was higher up. Mental health/mental illness is a real issue for a lot of people, and society in general has a hard time understanding them and are quick to judge, making the ones who struggle with it feel insecure about asking for help and getting treatment. Shame this stigma still exists in 2021. I still feel insecure and doubt I'm sick enough, and I've had anxiety disorders for 16 years. Our society has such a power through it. Suck it up. Work when you are sick, and if you can't you are weak mentality. Then there are the people who think that if you aren't working you are lazy and don't want to work. I want to work. I'm sure there are plenty of people who don't understand how mentally exhausting having a mental illness can be, and mental health treatment is so inaccessible. Even in Canada it's very lacking, unless you are under 18. I feel a lot of guilt for being able to be off of work and still able to access private therapy, as I know a lot of people aren't able to afford that. There really is no long-term therapy for adults that is covered, that I know of. It's like here's 8 weeks of group CBT, now you're on your own. Baldness. It doesn't seem to be as common for it to happen naturally with women, but for men and women, it can be a really sore subject, especially if it starts happening at a fairly early age. You could be in control of every other aspect of your life, but if you start losing hair early, it can take the wind out of your sails. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold and all the supportive comments. Seeing the responses here has shown me that there are more positive perceptions on bald/balding people than I thought. Not having relationships with some or all family members. Some people just suck, and someone has to have the misfortune of being related to them. I think this is very generational, especially in the rural area I'm from. Everyone my parents' age and older, 50 plus, definitely holds on to the idea that you should try at all costs to maintain some kind of relationship with a person if they are a family member, regardless of the circumstances. They just don't understand how most transgressions aren't heavily mitigated by the mere fact that someone is your mother, father, grandmother, etc. I had to explain to my own mother, who I have a wonderful relationship with, thankfully, just earlier today, that most younger people/young adults absolutely do not give a poop if a toxic person is related to them. Abuse is abuse and you don't have to stay in a relationship that is actively harmful. Mother or no. These are also the people where I'm from that grew up thinking divorce was unacceptable under basically any circumstances, etc. Crooked teeth. They grew in that way and my parents, divorced, both had insurance on me, but argued over whose responsibility it should be. Well now it's mine, but I can't afford it. Everything that doesn't harm others, but makes the person happy. Be silly. Enjoy yourself. Makes no angles in the rain. I don't care. I'm a cleaner in this. I've literally had people say to me, after I told them, so you studying, or what are you looking to do? I'd never cleaned toilets and the worst one was so. Just haven't found your dream job yet. Apostrophe. Like. No. Greg. I'm OCD and have had. This is my dream job. I'm on my feet all day. I get to make things perfect, and the satisfaction is incredible for my mental health. I'm able to support myself and my son and I also get to help the elderly and disabled. Who wouldn't want to have that chance on a daily basis? Also, clean your ducking toilet, Greg. It's grotty as hell. Liking pretty things. Too many people have this idea that pretty things are childish and you need to be moody and ironically dark. Fool. Look at that beautiful flower and stop pretending to be miserable before you actually convince yourself that you are. Eater. Wow. Exclamation mark. Thank you guys so much for the awards and karma. You're all pretty things. The way you look in any form That was a result of your genetics. Honestly, the way you look, period. Some people dress a certain way because they are depressed. Some because they want to be different. Some people have much bigger fish to fry than putting on appearances for others. Being poor, it's not a choice. I'm doing the best I can, and just because I receive food stamps or any other type of assistance doesn't make me oppose. I see a lot of hate for poor people. Like we are supposed to fit the stereotype with dirt on our face and stained up clothes. It isn't so far-fetched to think my designer clothes come from a thrift store. My nails are press-on from the dollar store, and my iPhone is so old it still has a headphone jack. I recently had an argument over why I'm poor with a coworker. Why don't you put $5 away each paycheck? Because I live paycheck to paycheck. But it's only $5. You can afford that. No. After all my bills are paid, I have maybe $30 to last 2 weeks. Oh. So you do have the $5. You just don't want to save. No. $20 goes to gas and $10 goes to laundry. Why don't you have a washer and dryer? Because even used they are expensive to buy and operate. Why don't you get government assistance like food stamps? I make too much. No amount of explaining to these people will ever get them to understand. Make too much. Apostrophe. God, that hurts. I get government benefits, and believe me, missing that cute off point for complete eligibility versus no eligibility hurts. Especially when that extra $20 you earned that year means you lose $300 in benefits. Where you should be success-wise at a certain age. I'm 23. Graduated college. But couldn't get a job in my field right after graduating. I'm living with my parents to save money on rent. Working at a restaurant. And growing my skills that I learned from college while working on myself. I'm severely insecure and realized recently that for the past 10 years, I have been constantly striving for a level of perfection that is absolutely impossible and calling myself a failure for it. I woke up to the realization that I was getting serious anxiety and was limiting everything I did. It's just that I'm not exactly ready for the world of adults. I'm terrified and unsure, and it doesn't help hearing people despair over how they ruin their lives when they aren't that old. The pressure to get somewhere in 2 years demotivates me sometimes. It's something I'm fixing. But I don't like hearing people force time limits on others and reprimand them if they never fulfill it or haven't. I saw a post here about a few days ago asking 25-year-olds how they screwed up in their lives or something along those lines, as if 25 is the deadline for achievements. It's good to have deadlines, but everybody grows at their own pace and has roadblocks in their lives that slow them down. Heck, the human brain apparently doesn't stop developing at 25 and grows even after 60 years old. Some people genuinely do try, but get so discouraged that they give up and then get ridiculed for not doing anything. I only learned recently that my 30-year-old cousin just got over a terrible drug addiction that cost his job and almost his livelihood for years. But he got out, finished college, and is a changed man getting better jobs and doing better. There's always time. Edit. Thank you for the awards. I'm glad to see people agree. Mental health. I can't tell you how many times people have tried to shame me for having bipolar disorder. Crying. It doesn't make you weak, dramatic, or over-emotional. It's your body's natural response to an overload of emotions, and it's one of the healthiest ways to express them, not to mention quite cathartic. This is more for the United States, I think, from what I've read. But, taking your vacation day / taking off work. Corporate America makes people feel like they shouldn't be taking vacation days or can't take off. I know personally at my job, people take vacation days and still email/work all day long. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. We get vacation days for a reason and don't owe our companies anything. So they shouldn't make us feel insecure about taking them when we want and need to. Not wanting to have a lover. I personally don't care for a love life. I believe the term for this is aromantic, but I haven't told anyone because I feel like the response I'll get will be along the lines of you haven't found the right one, or aromantic/asexual people don't exist. Edit. Oh wow. Thank you so much for the award. I can't thank you enough. I can totally relate. I'm not aromantic. But after a few failed relationships it just feels like so much work To look for someone I'm compatible with. Yes. I want to love someone and be loved, and get back rubs, and have maquillage sessions. etc. But getting to that comfy place takes so much stress. And on top of it, I can't even meet anyone new because of COVID. I'm fine with being alone at the moment and my family has pretty much given up on me finding a BF. Stretch marks? Question mark? Question mark? It absolutely baffles me when people talk about stretch marks negatively. Feel like birthmarks in my mind. I've had stretch marks since I was 12 or so, just from growing. When I was a teenager, someone once asked me while I was in a bathing suit if I had ever had a baby because I had stretch marks. I had not. I have no idea why she thought that was an appropriate thing to ask a teenager, but okay. Height. Just because you're not 6 feet tall doesn't mean you're unattractive. Also, being a depressed male. If you tell a depressed male to man up, I would not like to meet you. Edit. Saying man up not to motivate someone, but in the stop being such a little btch way. Hope you're understood. Edit 2. As I can see, even women suffer with not being allowed to express their emotions. To all the depressed people reading this, I wish you the best. Whether or not you're going to get married, whether or not you're going to have kids, whether or not you're going to have more kids. Not getting up early. There's this idea that if you get up early then that's amazing and you have your life put together, but that's just not it. Some people are morning people. Some people aren't. Rather than being made to feel guilty for getting up at 12 p.m, those who are students or work on weekends, or whatever, just accept that some of us work better at night. Living at home with parents as adults. Wages are so damn low. Student loan net so damn high. Rent prices high. I mean, WTF am I supposed to do? Plus the amount of money I spend on healthcare a month leaves me cashless. I can't cough up $1.800 a month for my own studio here in SoCal, even though I work full time for a job that requires a BA degree. Sometimes living at home with parents is the most financially responsible thing someone can do. And don't forget, later when parents are elderly, if everyone gets along, there's a good chance parents need their adult kids just as much later on as their children needed them over the years. As an autistic person who doesn't do this, but knows people who do, physical stimming. You wanna rock back and forth in a grocery store? Be my guest. You wanna flap your hands? Be my guest. Just don't kill yourself and don't harm others. Their interests. Let people enjoy themselves. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Let girls drink pumpkin spice. Let teens get into supernatural. I'm so tired of watching people make fun of others, especially kids, for their interests. Like, if you don't like it, whatever, but let others enjoy their interests and hobbies in peace. Being behind in life. Everybody has their own journey. Maybe some have kids at 20, some at 30, some are high up the career ladder at 25, some start a new career at 40. There's nothing wrong with any of these. Making people feel bad about their skills or interests because we've pointlessly gendered them. If the level 85 ninja wizard on my team is a girl and the one bringing me fresh baked cookies is a guy, the proper response is hell yeah. I have a level 85 ninja wizard on my team and fresh baked cookies and nothing more. Bring different. Appearance. Popularity. Trends. Not being good enough. Size. Sexuality. Gender. Race. Religion. Mental illness. Quote unquote weakness. Opinions. The list goes on. Being unemployed. Taking longer figure out what you want to do in life. Not going to college. Edit. My first 2 points about being unemployed and taking time to figure out what you want to do were meant to be exclusive statements. But I'm realizing now that formatting on mobile implies that they are connected. Thank you to those who shared your perspectives below and made me aware of how my comment reads. To clarify, I think there are many circumstances where being unemployed are not at the individual's own volition, and therefore the stigma should not be assumed. I do agree that there are some situations where unemployment is a consequence of person's actions, On a separate note from being unemployed, I don't think people should be made to feel insecure about not knowing what they want to do with their life, because we never know what a job will be like until we experience it. I think people are often pressured to have it all figured out. But how are you supposed to know when you don't even know what it's like? Again, this idea is separate from employment status. Close bracket. Also agree with you on not going to college, especially for those who didn't have the stereotypical college days experience, such as myself. When I was 16 to 18 I was dealing with crippling depression and had so many absences I stayed back a year. I graduated high school when I was 19 and worked retail instead. Then a year later, my family found out my dad had late stage cancer of unknown primary, so at age 20 I had to help my sister bring my dad to appointments and eventually hospice. Whenever someone judges me for never having gone to school when it was more appropriate in my late teens, or deciding to go to school online, which some people don't consider real school, it's very painful for me to be sized up like that when I had perfectly good reasons to not have the standard experience / opportunity like everyone else. Edit. Thank you to Anonymous for the award. Women having children. We'll have them if / when we want to or are able to. It's none of anyone else's business when a woman is or isn't going to have a kid. So many people have fertility issues, money problems, or just simply don't want children ever, and they shouldn't have to explain that to anybody. Teeth color. Being a virgin. Not drinking alcohol. How they look. Talking in a language you're not fluent in. Aging. Assuming you an average amount of time. You'll spend the majority of your life not in your 20s. Therapy. We all have our shit. Not going to college. There are so many trades that offer a good living. Not having kids. It's abundantly clear that not everyone feels up to the task of having kids. Don't question it. Going to school for the sake of learning instead of for a specific career and/or degree. I have a friend who is really interested in psychology, but feels intimidated to start school again at the age of 35. I told her that going to school for a subject she is genuinely interested in and curious about is the best reason to do so. But we have been conditioned to think otherwise. Physical appearances. Sexuality. Being single or being in a relationship. Liking certain things. Low paying / minimum wage work at any age. Look, I respect anyone that works there, but off to make their way in this world. Janitor, McDonald's, making an honest living shouldn't be looked down on. Acting your age. Like I get not acting like a 3-year-old when you're 23, but I more mean letting people enjoy things that aren't necessarily age appropriate. I wanna color in my coloring book in my downtime. I'm 31. But who am I hurting? No one, and my picture is goddamn pretty. Being single. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.